So welcome back to Tower Block Tales. This is the second instalment of the mini-series that I've called Heroin. And in this episode, we are going to dive deeper into the heroin, the world of heroin addiction, and cover the points to keep an eye out for in your loved one. And these points could indicate that they have begun using heroin. And things to look out for are mood swings. It's a bit more snappier than normal, because at the end of the day, you know your child, and you probably will be able to distinguish between the two, as a normal stopper teenager to a bit over edgy and that sort of thing to them. Changing friends, so old schoolmates will probably fade out, and they're sort of spending time probably with people that you haven't seen or heard of before. New faces may have sort of an unkept appearance. You keep your eye out for lack of money, and when they do get paid, it'll probably only last like a day or so before they sort of asking for money again. And the amount of money it'll probably be for a roundabout set amount, so like say £10 or £20, as this is how your loved one will sort of begin buying it. False promises. When asking for cash, they won't take no for an answer, and they will, overly promise that they're going to pay it back. Black marks on door handles and light switches, and that sort of black marks off the fingers from the foil, from underneath where it's been burnt. Burn marks on clothing from maybe falling asleep with a cigarette in their hand. Missing spoons from your cutlery drawer. Because they do, use this for cooking up heroin to inject. Stained teeth. Personal hygiene sort of declines. Wearing long sleeve tops in summer. Sort of like itching, basically. Itching, that makes you itch heroin. I don't know if anybody knew that, but it does. Rolls of foil going missing or not lasting as long as it did. Change in like I say, mood, a lot of changes, change in sleep patterns, change in interests. Change is a very big one, covers a lot, Lack of motivation. I'd say they're always going to be in their room with the door closed, locked if they've got one, maybe asks for a lock if they haven't got one. If they haven't got a lock, I'd say it's probably something's going to be sort of put behind the door, so it gives them a little bit of time to hide what they're doing if you were to sort of come in. If you spotted any of those any of them signs, they're not always going to indicate drug use, but the majority of them are. They're not. As it further goes on, you'll see sort of signs that you can't miss, like not washing for days, poor dental hygiene, wearing the same clothing all the time, the dirty, unkept hair, pale skin with bags under their eyes, sunken cheekbones, and another sort of indicator that a loved one's on drugs is their items going missing. So things that a loved one will kind of sell that can indicate drug use is anything electrical, like phone, game consoles, laptops, desktop computers, gold, designer clothes. Watch for these items sort of disappearing and maybe reappearing a few weeks later, and that's when they sort of like done what's called a buyback, and that's sort of like done in pawn shops and cash converters, what I call clack converters. They may sell things on Facebook, suddenly start selling things on Facebook where they never have before, or if they have, it not being that much of a regular thing. Designer clothes, they'll probably be swapped with drug dealers, really. So anything that you sort of listened that I've just said sort of does need addressing, but you need to address it. It's not in like a demanding way. You've got to sort of they need to be seen that they can open up to you and that you are understanding. And remember that everyone starts taking drugs for different reasons, and that reason, once you know it, may not be something that you can understand. It may be you personally that reason might have not made you go to heroin. But just remember, this isn't about you, and they're not your reasons. Find out what help is available for you to join as a loved one. And the drug treatment places usually have groups in your area for loved ones to go to and to talk to other loved ones and get support from people in the same situations as yourselves. These groups are good as they're people through all the different stages of the process. There will be people who are there because they think their child or loved one may be using heroin, and others will be just processing the fact that they've just suddenly found out that their loved one is a heroin user, or it could be someone who's there who their loved one's been on heroin for years, and there'll be people there whose loved one is clean, and everybody's sort of there just to offer advice. It's there's no sort of judgment there. I mean, due to the stigma around heroin and heroin use, or drug use, but definitely heroin use, you might feel that you can't open up to, say, your friends about you found your loved one using drugs, or you think they're using drugs, or you found this in the bedroom or something like that. But in this group there were none. You're all in the sort of same boat, and I would really say join, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. It can happen to anybody's family. So once you've spoken with your loved one, talk about what you want to do next, because there's no sort of set in stone way of tackling heroin addiction. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be one of the hardest things that a person has ever done. There's no sort of magic pill that's going to sort of get prescribed by the drug prescribing team that's going to sort of make all their cravings go away, all their symptoms go away, and they'll never want to use drugs again, because there isn't. Basically, the NHS groups who help with drug use and detox, they tend to prescribe morphine, or like a what's it called, Subutex, like port blockers and stuff, and they're the main two opiates that they sort of prescribe on NHS to tackle, obviously, addiction. Make sure that you and your loved one sort of research this and find out which one's sort of better. Have a little plan before you go and sort of meet the drug worker. So you need to sort of try and understand what it's going to be like, and there's no possible way at all of me doing this for you. I'm going to try my hardest to sort of describe and try and make you understand what heroin withdrawal symptoms are like. I mean, they say one of the hardest things is admitting it. I personally don't think it is. When you admit it, you're not sweating, and you're not sneezing, and you're not craving heroin, and you're not poorly. When you go to this appointment to get your prescription and get things set in, sort of planned out, you're not withdrawing. So this is not the hardest part. It's a very, very, very important part, but it definitely isn't one of the hardest. The way you feel when you do not have heroin, you're literally climbing the walls. It's often described as a flu-like symptoms. Well, give me the fucking flu any day of the week. You can't take ibuprofen for it and 20 minutes later you're alright. That these symptoms I'm going to tell you now will literally go away if you have heroin. It's fucking disease. It's really hard. Heroin withdrawals. Your pulse quickens. Your breathing rate increases. Blood pressure increase. Body temperature rises. You experience insomnia. Pupils dilate. Your reflexes become heightened. You sweat. You've got goosebumps. You've got a watery eyes and nose. You've got cramps and muscle spasms and pain. Nausea, and you probably will vomit. Diarrhea, and obviously craving for heroin. Your emotions sort of come back. You're more irritable. And 6 to 12 hours of stopping using heroin, these will come. So, if you sort of had heroin in the evening, your symptoms may not appear till the following morning. And, let's say you use heroin on a Friday, you'll notice your symptoms intensifying over the weekend when they hit the peak. You can't stand anybody touching you. You can't stand anybody near you. You're freezing, but you're sweating. You've got almost like a metal taste in your mouth. You can't stop going to the toilet. Your breathing's really bad. It's absolutely horrendous. You try and take yourself back to a moment when you had, to you personally, each everyone's going to think this differently, everyone now vision to when you was in the worst pain in your life. You times that by 1,000 and you are still nowhere near the way that your loved one is going to feel when they're withdrawing off heroin. You need to be so totally there for them. You can get through it, and you will get through it, and people do get through it. And I hope by me doing these podcasts that I can help somebody. So that's the second episode. Third one, we will cover yet again some more things, diving back into the heroin subject. So if you like this episode and you're watching it listening to it on YouTube, please press that subscribe button. Like me and share me, and do the same whatever platform you're watching on. Sort of download it or whatever you do. I haven't figured that bit out yet, but still like me, guys. And I love you all. And remember, you don't know how strong you are until strength is your only option.